What's up, heroes? Just finished watching Darling in the Franxx episode 15, and my god, this was a great episode. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm just going to go through my notes, little things that I thought were important in this episode, and I'm going to discuss them as bullet points one by one. I'm also a little bit stressed out right now because I keep telling my manager at work not to schedule me on Saturday because I have anime that needs to be reviewed, but he scheduled me anyways. That's pretty inconsiderate, so I gotta, make this review semi-quick, like last week's, unfortunately. By the way, guys, there's no episode of Darling in the Franxx coming out next weekend. If you guys didn't know that, next weekend there will be no new episode coming out, so we have to wait until 2 weeks from now for the next new episode, so that kind of sucks. But I will be giving out lots of theories and stuff in the meantime, so be sure you're subscribed to my channel and have notifications on so you can have some Darling in the Franxx content while you don't have Darling in the Franxx content from Darling in the Franxx creators. Well, the real creators, not the content creators, the actual creators of the show. Anyways, so the episode, all in all, before I go into my bullet points and like the little highlights, I'm just gonna like kind of say I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was awesome. We finally got to see the Nines piloting their Franxx. We saw the difference between the Franxx of the Nines, the Franxx of Squad 13, which we have some higher digits in there, and then like some of the more regular parasites, and their Franxx are more kind of average looking. So that was interesting. We saw some cool dynamics between Hiro and Ichigo and Hiro and Zero Two, and it was a really good episode. And yeah, overall I liked it a lot. I think they definitely made up from episode 14 and episode 15. I wasn't really hating on episode 14 anyways, to be honest, but 14 and 15 go hand in hand. It was like part 1 and part 2, and then we have a short hiatus coming up next episode. We won't have it, so it really does reinforce the idea that 14 and 15 were kind of like one episode in a way, like they are part 1 and part 2. Anyways, so just going through all the main highlights. So the mission had one objective in this episode: taking control of the area known as the Grand Crevasse. Now, I've already made some videos on the Grand Crevasse, and though we didn't actually see it being in a glacier, we did find out that the Grand Crevasse has been like sealed off by a giant dome. So it could still actually be like a real life crevasse. It could be like a glacier with a giant like geographical crack in it, or whatever you want to say. But it's also man-made looking. It seems to be man-made, which fits in line with the fact that the Klaxosaur look rather man-made and mechanical anyways. So all these themes are starting to converge more and more and more. The fourth company starts the attack and starts failing the attack rather. So they send in Squad 13 along with squads from 4 other plantations to form the 6th United Company. All these parasites are going in there, and I'm going to move my notes over to this side so I'm not like looking away too much. That should be a little bit better. So it's Papa's wish to take over the Grand Crevasse. Papa is, it's really Ape. It's all the same thing. They all have the same goals aligned. The only difference is Werner, a.k.a. Dr. Franxx. His goals seem slightly different than the rest of Ape. I mean, like, for the most part, they're the same, but I think he wants to take a different path. Because we've seen in this episode specifically, Dr. Franxx had some conflicting ideas that didn't really fit the rest of Ape's ideas, or goals to accomplish those ideas. Anyways, apparently Zero Two devoured all the Stallman that she was given, and she ended up solo piloting. We see her in almost a full Red Oni form, horns that are touching the top of the cockpit, lines, Klaxosaur lines going down her cheeks and whatnot. It was pretty intense. But before we get to that scene, we have to take some more merit into Ape. So Ape's HQ is the Cosmos, a mobile aerial fortress, and they said that taking over the Grand Crevasse may finally get them their wish. Now, there's also a name that we haven't heard before, or maybe we did, but I'm not remembering it, and that name is Ringhorny. Ape said, if we have both Ringhorny and the Grand Crevasse, we can finally bury those pests, referring to the Klaxosaur. So what exactly is Ringhorny, and what exactly is the Grand Crevasse? We know more about the Grand Crevasse, at least, than we do about this Ringhorny thing. But yeah, that's also really interesting. So apparently these are 2 really important things. So hypothetically, we're on episode 15 right now. If episode 16 or 17 we actually do take over the Grand Crevasse, we still have this Ringhorny issue that needs to be resolved. So we will see what's up with that. The Nines appear and say that the parasites did well for humans. So again, it's this weird thing where the parasites are called parasites, but at the same time they are referred to as human and, losing their humanity at times, these kids. So if parasites are humans, what are adults that are not parasites? Are they humans? Or are they actually like, a lot of these adults seem to be augmented with mechanical things. So it's really interesting. And again, we have the parasites showing more humanity a lot of the time. Well, especially Squad 13, because they are, a much more humanized squad than almost any other parasite squad out there. That's kind of their thing. They are specifically a test subject of, it wasn't planned on that at first, but as they began getting more and more individual personalities and whatnot, Ape and Dr. Franxx decided to let Squad 13 kind of do their own thing as more of a test squad to see how, these parasites interact when they are given more individuality and allowed to form relationships and whatnot. Anyways, so we see that the 9s actually all have horns as well, but they seem holographic. They don't really seem like physically there. So that's really interesting. They're not horns like Zero Twos. They're different. And I don't know whose are better, to be honest. Zero Twos it seems like Zero Two has more power than the 9s, but the 9s definitely put in work. It's hard to say. As now, I would assume that Zero Two is more powerful than the 9s, which means that the holographic horns are not as powerful as Zero Two's horns. However, Zero Two also loses control of herself a lot of the time, specifically when she's solo piloting though, but it has happened when she's piloting with Hiro as well. Zero Two has lost control of herself multiple times piloting with Hiro. So that could be the difference between the holographic horns and the actual horns. Maybe the holographic ones are, not as powerful, but also give them better control. So that's very interesting there. Just things to take note of. Anyways, the Grand Crevasse is sealed by a thick dome. We already covered that. Squad 13, Franxx team different. We already covered that. Squad 13 finds a man-made hole in the Grand Crevasse. Yeah, so we already covered that slightly. The fact that the Grand Crevasse seems to be man-made. You see these walls and these holes and the Klaxosaur coming out of it. So again, there's some really weird stuff. And we get a really weird scene later on that I'm going to talk about in a minute here. But before we go into that, I'm just going to keep going down these bullet points. So Squad 13 finds a man-made hole. We got that one. The Super Lehman class appears. Interesting because there's a correlation between a detection of high magma energy in the Grand Crevasse, like under it. There's a high detection of magma energy in the Super Lemon Klaxosaur. Lemon Klaxosaur appears. So did the high concentration of magma energy appear because the ground was being shaken up because this thing was so dang big? Or is there a different correlation? Was it not because of the ground being moved, but more because the Klaxosaur was feeding on the magma energy, and that's what stirred that up? It's interesting. I'm not sure which one it really is. Could be a combination of both. Plantation 26 gets completely destroyed by the SLC, the Super Layman class, and Protocol 32 is issued by Ape. Protocol 32 seems to be a self-destruct issue, and indeed it was, because that squad did self-destruct, so I was kind of sad, but we didn't really know them anyway, so it's whatever. Zero Two goes to defend the plantation, Squad 13's plantation specifically, in her Klaxo/Oni form, not full-on Oni, but starting to definitely look like that. And you see her saying to herself, the line is blurring. Somebody get me out of here. She's becoming more and more of a monster, more and more of a Klaxosaur. Very interesting stuff indeed. And Dr. Franxx says to Hiro, don't you find her far more beautiful than any human, pure and proud, and more alone than us all? She's like a Klaxosaur through and through. So it's interesting. Dr. Franxx Werner says that Zero Two is more beautiful than any human, and then goes on to explain that she is, definitely a Klaxosaur through and through. So he's saying that a Klaxosaur is more beautiful than a human. So that's what makes me, all these things that we've been given throughout this show so far makes me feel like humans are really not that human in this show, and the parasites show more humanity than the humans do. It's weird. And then this line just kind of reinforces that. Like, Dr. Franxx basically saying that a Klaxosaur is more beautiful than a human. Weird. Then he says that Zero Two is a poor girl since she didn't find a partner after all in Hiro, but we later find out that the Hiro actually, manages to pilot with her again, and everything's fine. And they actually go like super mode, better than ever. So that's pretty awesome. Dude, we're about halfway through these bullet points already. I'm talking very fast. I've had a lot of coffee, and I'm kind of in a hurry, but hey, it's all good. So our man Goro, let's talk about him. This dude has major death flags now. Maybe not major death flags, but I would put him around the top of the list for characters that are probably going to get killed off at some point in the show. Ichigo's also got some death flags, but I think Goro is sitting above Ichigo in terms of death flags. Goro, he got Ichigo to pilot with Hiro to get Hiro to Zero Two. It was Goro's idea, not Ichigo's. Like, the fact that Goro has been shown throughout the show to get like cucked multiple times, but still be a nice dude and still do the right thing, making him such a likable character is definitely giving him death flags, because creators of shows like to kill off characters that the fan base likes because it stirs things up. And that's why they make them likable characters anyway, because down the road they have a dark plan for what's going to happen. So I definitely worry about Goro's future. I think, like I said, he definitely has some high death flags on him now. He's been starting to get them throughout the episodes, but especially this episode definitely reinforced that. Anyways, Ichigo begins to see Hiro's memories of him and Zero Two, and she sees that Ichigo is not really in Hiro's memories. Like, he's there, but not the ones that she saw, because the ones that she saw were focused on like what Hiro was currently thinking about, and what he was currently thinking about was Zero Two. So that, Ichigo took that pretty well, though. Then we see more lines from Zero Two. I pretend to be human, but that game's over. Now the line is blurring. How I long to be human. So it's, it's really dramatic stuff. But based on how this episode ended, I don't think those lines are that important. They're more so just reinforcing the fact that we already know Zero Two. I almost said he's Hiro, Zero Two, not Hero Two. Zero Two has been like struggling to keep her humanity and not become a Klaxosaur, Oni, and all this stuff. So, these lines just kind of reinforce it, but I don't think they're anything that we should really focus on too much. I think it was more just like reinforcement of those concepts we've already been introduced to. Nothing really new. So when we see inside the cockpit, C02, her horns, like I said earlier, are like touching the top of the thing. She got lines down her face and whatnot. This is probably the closest we've seen her ever to being a Klaxosaur. Very interesting. Like, why? I don't know. Like, why was that happening to her? Is it because she killed all those Stallmen? Is it because she's like she's fighting these Klaxosaur and is it because she is fighting so hard that she's becoming more Klaxo? Is it because of her emotional turmoil that she's becoming more Klaxo? Is it because she killed somebody Stallman that she's becoming more Klaxo? Or is it simply because she's already part Klaxo and she's around so many Klaxo? That could also be a thing. So, or a combination of all the above. I'm just throwing some questions your guys' way. You guys think about it. I don't have all the answers. This is not an anime that has a manga that's already ahead of it. This is an anime that's ongoing right now. The anime is ahead of the manga. I only know as much as you guys do. I'm just giving some questions and hopefully we find the answers together at some point. Anyway, so Plantation 37's back process is 98% complete. Let's release them from the cages of their bodies. This was a quote by Ape. I'm going to say that again because it's really weird. Plantation 37's back process is 98% complete. Let's release them from the cage of their bodies. What does that mean? Let's release them from the cages of their bodies. It is very strange wording, isn't it? Like, Ape, they're already like very mechanical looking. They don't even look human. They have a humanoid appearance, but they don't seem to have skin. They're all mechanical and whatnot, unless it's armor. But there's this weird thing going on, like I said before, with humanity and mechanical things and whatnot. So, it's just weird, man. We don't have all the answers this episode, and in a way, we have more questions than we had last episode even, so we'll see. Ape uses the plantations for self-destruction as a weapon to fight without Strelizia's help. They're not relying solely on Zero Two and Strelizia. They have backup plans that involve parasites in humanity sacrificing themselves to destroy Klaxosaur. Not the best plan. Even Dr. Franxx says that it is foolish and implies that Ape has gone too far there. Then we find out something really cool because we've been wondering this for 15 episodes now. We've been wondering if Ape actually knows that Hiro ingested Zero Two's blood, and it seemed like they didn't for a long time. Like they didn't understand that, they didn't know that happened because they weren't there. However, this episode, it is confirmed that they actually do know. They do know that Hiro ingested Zero Two's blood. They may not have been there, but I guess maybe they have done like blood tests on Hiro and saw that, or maybe they just have cameras everywhere and they did see, like they saw a recording of it or something. Either way, it doesn't really matter. The fact is they know. So then we find more information about the memory alteration process, which is actually also really important because we had this weird situation where Hiro doesn't remember anything and Zero Two does remember some stuff, but it's kind of weird. So indeed, Hiro had his memories, some of them altered. Most of Hiro's memories were altered, not erased. Zero Two had a lot of her memories altered and not erased, but some of them erased. And Franxx was told that, something was stopping Zero Two's memory from being erased fully. She was fighting the procedure, and Franxx was warned that it would be a great strain on Zero Two to have them erased when she's fighting it like this. He says it doesn't matter, just do it anyways. So they do it, but it doesn't go as planned. Zero Two does indeed remember some of those memories, and I guess that really, it just comes down to her willpower. She just fought it that much. She was hanging on to it, thinking that was what makes her human. In her words, she said, the erasing procedure because she thought she'd never be human if she did forget those memories. So she literally fought the memory erase procedure so well that she kept some of her memories. That's really all that's explained there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So Hiro's personality finally begins to show as he talks with Zero Two. It's like the old Hiro begins to truly return. That's something I noticed. I'm sure you guys noticed as well. A lot of people complain about Hiro being kind of like a dull protagonist. Like he doesn't have much personality. And we see that he had more personality when he was younger. Like back in the day before he met Zero Two, and then when he met Zero Two, and then after that, he became kind of just like this blank slate because his memory was erased, some of it altered, and he just at some point he wasn't able to pilot anymore, so he's just depressed and just doesn't even know who he is really. In this episode, we see the old personality of Hiro returning. He gets this more positive nature. He begins to question things again. He even questions why he stopped questioning things to begin with, and it's like Kid Hiro, but more mature version of Kid Hiro, and that's the personality that he's finally getting again. So that's going to be awesome. We'll see Hiro being more fleshed out from this point on. And then Hiro, once again, we get a reference to the Jaune bird. Hiro says that they are together as one. And they both quote Zero Two from episode 1, which is awesome, saying about, like, that they found it beautiful. It struck me as profoundly beautiful.
でも、なぜだろう。私はそんな命のあり方を美しいと思ってしまったのだ。美しいと感じてしまったのだ。
So that was awesome. We see the true form of Strelizia appearing, this like red, freaking awesome form. It was like anytime Hiro and Zero Two piloted Strelizia, it looked normal. This is them fully in unison, and we see great things happening to their Franxx. Can other Franxx do this? I don't know yet, but we certainly know that Strelizia can. And maybe that's just because Zero Two and Hiro are special. They're outliers. Even compared to the Nines, they're special. Maybe the Nines can do this too. I don't know yet. But again, we see a difference in the horns of Zero Two, the horns of the Nines. And Hiro still doesn't have his horns, yet they still achieve this form. The Nines pilots, both the pilots, the Stallman and the pilot, you know, the female pilot, they do both have horns. Zero Two has horns. Hiro doesn't, at least that we've seen yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. You know, the whole Blue Oni theory is still very real. Could definitely be a thing later on. But it's just interesting to take note that they achieved this superior form while only one of them had horns and is part Klaxosaur. Although there's plenty of theories that Hiro is part Klaxosaur and can get those horns as well. He just didn't have them at the time there, if he does get them at some point. So, you know, grains of salt and all that stuff. Anyways, it's cool because Ichigo gets some redemption. She actually, you know, says that she's happy for Zero and Hiro, for Zero Two and Hiro. So that's cool. And then we see Ichigo's death flags increasing a little bit. She gets some of her redemption. So Ichigo and Goro, death flags increasing. Goro still above Ichigo in my mind. And we see some really weird stuff, though. I'm trying to find it in my notes because I don't remember, like... I remember this scene happening already, but I don't see it in my notes. The scene I'm talking about is the fact that we see a Klaxosaur core roll out and crack, and a human-looking appearance falling out, covered in YBC, yellow blood cells. So, there's already been theories about Klaxosaur, you know, actually being humans, especially because we know parasites are just kind of mysteriously thrown out if they fail. So, are the parasites Klaxosaur? Just looking more and more like they are. Let's see. So this is kind of near the end of my notes, actually. And I got some cool stuff on Dr. Franxx coming up at the end here. 9 Alpha says it's time to do this. The Nines do a crazy combo attack that saves the plantation in conjunction with Zero Two, finishing off that freaking, what's it called? That Super Lehman class? Klaxosaur, I believe it was called. We get to see a collective of massive cores inside the SLC, the Super Lehman class. Massive cores. And if you thought that thing was big, wait until you see the end of the episode. This giant Klaxosaur arm appears, destroys the core and most of Squad 13's plantations. That was messed up. They spend the whole episode defending that plantation, and then this giant arm appears and just like wipes out most of it. Somehow Squad 13 lives, but that massive cores does get destroyed or taken back by the arm. So is there, like, it's just insane. Like, I don't even know if I want to talk about that arm. That's a topic for a whole other video. I mean, I'm legitimately going to talk about that in another video, I think. Make a whole separate video on that. But yeah, I mean, that's just crazy, man. A freaking giant Klaxosaur arm appears. And, like, what the heck? Like, what? Like, is it just an arm? Or is there a full body down there, dude? Dude, that thing is huge. Huge. The Super Lemon class was bigger than any Klaxosaur they had ever seen. And that arm made the Super Lemon class, like, that thing was not even the size of one finger on that arm. So it's literally insane. Like, I'm having a hard time even talking about it because it's just so ridiculously insane, man. So on that note, I'm going to end this video here. Oh, the quick thing about Dr. Franxx. So Dr. Franxx's full name is Furakusa Hakase. I can probably say that better. Hold on. Furakus, okay, Hakase, whatever. Let's just call him Werner, okay? His name's Werner, guys. His name's Werner. It's Werner, okay? And Werner syndrome in real life is a rare autism recessive disorder that shows premature aging in people that are affected by it. So Dr. Franxx may not actually be as old as he looks. He may have this disease where he is like aging rapidly, and that's really interesting because if he really isn't that old and the Franxx are something that he created, then how were these plantations being defended before? Were the Klaxosaur like not that big of a threat before, and more recently they became a huge threat? Or did they have some other way of defending them that just wasn't as ideal? I don't know. Or is it more ideal and they're just testing out the Franxx? It's all, again, just questions I'm presenting to you guys. Leave me your thoughts down below in the comments. I'll take a look. I'll take a look. I'll get back to you. And again, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not. More Franxx content on the way. And just to reiterate, no episode next week, so that's going to suck. But oh well, I'll see you guys in the comments. We can talk about it there. Also, join our Discord link down below. Talk about us in real time there. And if you do want to support the channel, well, Patreon is a good way of doing that. Link down below for that as well. Thank you guys very much. I'll check out your comments, and I'll get back to you, and I'll see you next time.